And guess who's joining us today? None other than Kush Maini himself, live from Le Mans in France. Welcome on the show. It's great to have you on the show, Kush. After all, you're the first Indian Formula 2 racing driver who's managed to win this circuit. It is one of the most iconic and unforgiving circuits, however, in Monte Carlo, which is in the world. So what really was going through your mind in those final laps of that sprint race when you were on the brink of making history? Were you aware that you were doing that, or were you in a zone where you blanked out all of it? How does it work?
I think for most of the race, I was definitely in the zone, and I didn't really think much of it. But the last 3 laps, I started just thinking about how it would feel having the national anthem being played across such an iconic circuit. And that's all I could think about, really. And going across the line was obviously a very proud moment. It's obviously been a tough start to the season for me, but to win at such an iconic circuit and to have our flag flying high was just an amazing feeling, and made it all worth it.
So there wasn't any pressure on you because it was there in Monaco? Like when you're in the middle of the race, at that time, do you let that feeling come in, or for you, is it just blanking out everything else? Forget about where you are, just do your best. How does it work?
I mean, I wish I could just tell you that, I'm like a monk and I block out everything, but unfortunately there is pressure for sure. And there always is at this level, but it's how you use that pressure. And I think through the years I've learned how to channel it in a positive way and to actually just drive better and be more focused. I enjoy pressure now, actually, compared to like 5-6 years ago when I used to crumble under it. So, we're just, we are our own journey and we get better and better. But yeah, that race was definitely, I wouldn't want to do that race again. It was definitely my practice.
And in fact, I've been lucky enough to be on that circuit in Monte Carlo as well. So there's that infamous turn 6 in Monte Carlo, which is that hairpin turn. It is one of the slowest, It is one of the most iconic corners for anyone who's uninitiated in that, in all of motorsport. So what really goes on in your mind at that time when you were taking that turn, Kush? If I ask you specifically that, was your heart beating faster than your car was running?
Honestly, that's one of the corners, because it's so slow, you can't do much. So it's one of the corners you can actually relax a bit and catch your breath. It's the last sector that's very intense. But yeah, knowing that it was the last lap and I had a gap break to second, I knew it was just about keeping it between the wheels and going across the line, which we did.
Well, and I'm glad that motorsports is back in India and you had a big role in bringing it, because at the end of it, for India, cricket, of course, is like a religion. But there are other sports as well which have picked up popularity. And what brings a sport back into popularity than hearing your national anthem being played, for example, which happened in your case at the F2 podium at Monaco for the first time ever? Was that like an unforgettable moment? I know it was for the rest of India. What did it feel like for you?
For me, this has always been about India. I race with a lot of pride, and I love my country, and I want to see it do well in many sports. Obviously, we're very, very good at cricket, and that's why it's so popular. And I want to get to that level in racing as well. I want to make racing more accessible for kids who want to become racing drivers. Because right now it feels like, kids telling us that I want to be a racing driver is like I want to go to the moon almost in India. So. But I hope it's changing slowly, and I hope this brings a bit of change to it. But ultimately, my goal is to make it to Formula 1 and make a change in our country to try and make this sport bigger and more accessible. Really.
You're absolutely right. Accessibility to the sport itself is one of the biggest problems. But I'll just come to that because I must ask you about your teammate as well, Jack Crawford. Well, he, of course, pulled off a brilliant win at the feature race as well, completing a dream run for your team, wasn't it? You finished a strong P6 yourself. How satisfying is it to see this team come together to dominate both the races in the way that you guys have?
Exactly. Like last year was a very tough year for me. We obviously had wins and a lot of podiums and some pole position here, but that stuff didn't click with my own team. They're great people and they work really hard, but it just didn't click, and sometimes it doesn't for many reasons. This year, obviously it started very tough, but I always felt really comfortable with the team, and even though we had some issues out of our control early on in the year, I always knew we were fast. And it's so nice to see them come together because this team is nice. So then there's a long way to go as well. So I'm excited.
Well, since you're talking about where you come from as well, you've, of course, experienced both Formula 2 and a role with Alpine F1 as a reserve driver, as a test driver for F1 as well. So what's the biggest gap that you notice between the two levels, F1 and F2? And how do you think that you're going to be closing the gap? I believe that's going to be your next step, isn't it?
Of course. I think, first of all, it's a massive difference. F1 is a different world. And it's, it's when I drove the car, it was just unbelievable. Obviously, I've had I'm so grateful I've been able to drive the car 4 times. But obviously, to reach Formula 1, you have to perform in Formula 2. And this year is very important. And, I hope the momentum we took from Monaco builds and we're in a position to be fighting for a seat.
And I'm asking you this because we've seen the likes of Narayan Karthikeyan. You have Karun Chandok. They remain to be the only Indians so far to have competed in it till date. What is it? What is the reason behind so few Indians when it comes to motorsports and at that level? You mentioned accessibility. Is that one of the biggest challenges that drivers in India face?
Exactly. Like for example, to make it easy for you, when you start racing, you have to go through go-karting to build your skill. I was national champion at the age of 11, and then I went to Europe. Being national champion, I went to Europe and did my first race, and I finished 60th out of 70 cars, so last. So it's a different world out there. It's so much more competitive, you can't even compare it. So really, at 12 years old, I had to leave everything in India and live alone in Italy to pursue this dream of mine without any family or new culture, not knowing the language. So that's the biggest thing I would say, the accessibility wise, where, for them, it's like a probably 1 hour flight or even a 30-minute drive. For us, it's a 8-hour flight and, you leave everything behind. So it's very different in that sense.
And that too at such a young age. And many people can't even simply afford it. You have been lucky that you've been able to afford it, but then you've had a family which has really backed you. And I believe that you have, if I can call it, motor racing in your blood as well?
Yes, definitely in my blood. And, I'm so grateful to have the life and to live the life which I want to live and to do what I love. I think I'm very lucky. It's come with its challenges as well, though. As you know, racing is very expensive, and when COVID happened, I was thinking about stopping. So I've thought about stopping many times, but something kept pushing me further, and I'm grateful I kept pushing because, it's starting to pay off. Well,
it's starting to pay up, and I think the whole of India is very glad that you didn't stop when you were getting, or rather facing, those difficult times. You've talked about go-karting in Bangalore, from Bengaluru to standing atop the podium at Monte Carlo. What a cinematic journey, if you can call it as, been for you. If you had to define the Kush Maini racing philosophy, because now you've become like the poster boy when it comes to motor racing. So the Kush Maini racing philosophy, if you were to give out inspiration to the younger ones, it gets hard, but that's when the tough get going, that kind of a message. What is it going to be that you'll be telling to those who find it simply too hard, simply too inaccessible to join a sport such as that?
2 things. One, I would say is, 4 years ago, I was going to stop racing, forget aiming for F1. F1 was like a 0% chance, and now I'm so close to it. Life is a long journey, and it teaches you a lot of things through lessons. It's you learning those lessons and using them in the future to build yourself as a person, as a driver. It's a long journey, and you need to keep building on it and never give up, really. Even though I've thought about giving up, I've always come back, and I've always, from my past, I've always taken lessons and applied them to my present, and it's helped me through situations. Second is, I would say, leave your ego. When you when you come onto the track. It's one of my issues, which I had when I was younger. I always thought I was the best, and I didn't learn as much as I could. And you need to just leave your ego and learn as much as you can from whoever's trying to help you, respect your team, and take in as much information as you can.
I think that's brilliant advice that you've given, and clearly you live by that, because Kush Maini, of course, so far we have known about how talented you are, how you've brought pride for India, but having spoken to you, I can see the humility in you. The way you speak, you're not letting ego or even this stardom coming to you, getting to you. You have been very grounded throughout the interview, and I appreciate the humility that you have shown. That is definitely one of the life lessons, whether you want to go onto the racing track or not, but these are life lessons I believe anyone in India would be happy to have. It's been a pleasure meeting you and knowing more about you, Kush Maini. Thank you so much for joining us here.